It's widely accepted that the video game Skyrim is loosely based on Viking Age Scandinavian culture, religion, geography, and peoples. Scandinavia is a region that includes Denmark, Norway, Sweden, the Faroe Islands, Iceland, and Finland. And the Viking Age spanned from around 763 to 1066 BCE. Not only do we see similar themes in both landscape and weaponry between Skyrim and early Scandinavia, but there is one similarity in particular that I want to focus on today: Draugrs. Draugrs are one of the many infamous creepy crawly enemies you find in the caves and dungeons of Skyrim, but they also roam around in the stories of Scandinavian mythology. In general, Draugrs are the zombie, skeleton-looking things that roam around and protect certain crypts or tombs. In Skyrim specifically, they are described as ancient Nords that, quote, once served the dragons ages ago and have been cursed with undeath for their treachery, end quote. Because of their service to the dragons long ago, Draugrs in Skyrim are doomed to roam in caves in this type of limbo and usually show no mercy to any traveler who passes them by. There are different ranks of Draugrs depending on what kind of cave or quest you are completing. You have the ordinary Draugr, then you have Restless Draugr, Draugr White, Draugr Scourge, Draugr Overlord, and most powerful of all, Draugr Deathlord. Some of the higher level Draugrs can use shouts such as Unrelenting Force, Frost Breath, and Disarm, or use ice magic spells like Frostbite, Ice Spike, Frost Cloak, and can even conjure Frost Atronachs, whereas others only wield swords or bows. We have a lot of information on Draugrs in Skyrim because of the various books found throughout the game. One book in particular sheds some interesting light on the Draugrs' everyday routines and habits. The book entitled Amongst the Draugr by Bernadette Banteen from the College of Winterhold describes her 7 months of observations while living with Draugrs. She said that after they realized she wasn't a threat, that the Draugr stopped trying to attack her and just went about their business. She observed that they varied in speed, strength, and hostility. Banteen describes them talking in the heathen tongue, which assumably would be the language of the dragons. The reason that these Draugrs would know dragon tongue is because often they were buried with ancient dragon priests and would serve them even in death. The Draugrs, she said, would wake up every day and, quote, shamble their way to the sarcophagus of their priests and prostrate themselves before it. Several hours of this, followed by a meticulous cleaning of the area, unquote. This loyalty is her explanation of why Draugrs are so incredibly hostile to those who wander into their caves. They're protecting and serving their dragon priest in death as they did so in their previous life. She notes that while they visit their priest daily, that some sort of life flow seems to be flowing out of the Draugr and into the dragon priest, sustaining and keeping him alive. Theorizing that the Draugr have been slowly giving their life force to the dragon priests and have deteriorated over time and become the zombie-like creatures that we see today. Now, Draugrs in Norse and Icelandic mythologies have slightly different takes on our not-so-friendly cave dweller. The word Draugr in Old Norse actually translates to phantom, which isn't far off from what the Draugr resembles. In myth, Draugrs are much more zombie-like in physical appearance. According to myth, they were people who had led greedy and unfavorable lives while living, and instead of moving on into the afterlife, they rose again to terrorize others and are in a state of limbo, much like the Draugrs of Skyrim. These Draugrs have superhuman strength, can grow to be any size they want in an instant, and resembled much more of a dead corpse. They were swollen, walked around with decaying flesh, had a black and blue hue, and had an undeniably disgusting stench. To attack their enemies, these Draugrs would mainly use their ability to grow to any size to destroy their target. It is also said that they would then eat their enemy's flesh. They also had magical abilities that enabled them to shapeshift and control the weather. It's even rumored that Draugrs can move through rock, which would explain how they could exit their tomb or burial site. Another notable ability that the mythological Draugrs possessed was the ability to curse people. A popular Draugr named Glamour placed a curse upon the adventurer and hero Grettir that would cause him to find nothing but misfortune after he killed Glamour. Later on, Grettir would be blamed for setting a fire to a dining hall and would be hunted by the authorities for the rest of his life. The curse ultimately led to this hero-turned-outlaw's demise. Overall, the Draugrs in myth and in the Skyrim universe are similar on a surface level. They are people who rose from the dead because they led unsavory and evil lives. They resemble zombies and the undead, and overall aren't incredibly intelligent and are only possessed to fight and kill whatever stands in their way. But when it comes to magical abilities, Draugrs in myth and in Skyrim are pretty different. They wield different magical and supernatural abilities. Skyrim Draugrs use shouts and ice magic, whereas a mythological Draugr has much more control over its environment and size, and can curse people to their death. You also see Draugrs in myth just out and about, whereas Skyrim Draugrs strictly stay in their caves. Whether you are looking at Draugrs in mythology or in the video game Skyrim, you're gonna want to avoid these walking, smelly corpses as much as you can. This is Fake Life Lore. Thanks for watching.